Hey, everybody, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Pat Flynn, and I'm here to help you with your book writing. If I have a little bit of a cough in the middle of this hour between us, please excuse me. I was very sick last weekend, and I'm just finally starting to get better. Saved most of my energy for you today, and whether you're watching this live or on a replay, it's all about the questions that are asked because I'm here with a lot of book writing experience, 3 self-published books under my belt, and I'm working on a 4th one now, my very first traditionally published book. I'm excited because I just have a lot to share. There's a lot of learnings and things that I've picked up over the years, and I'm excited just again to be here to be able to serve you and hopefully help you fast forward your success there. Now, we do have some special people in the room. You'll notice some blue names in the house. These are our moderators. Big shout out to Jillian, who's our community director inside of SPI, and probably some other fun friends from SPI are here to help us as well. But again, this is all about you and the questions that you have. I'm going to answer as many as I can. I'll treat this similar to like the office hours that our students often get access to. So let me see. I'm just going to see if these pop up nicely. Senor Bone says, "Hi, Pat. Thanks for publishing or providing some insights into self-publishing. Published a short story for my high school paper decades ago and would like to give writing another try. Thanks for being here." You're welcome. That's really cool. You know, a lot of things can become the idea or spark for a book. In fact, one of my most successful books, my most recent one, which is super fans here, this book right here, big shout out to those of you who have read it and picked it up. That book actually sparked from a presentation that I had been given for years. And a big shout out to Jay Baer, who you might have heard of. He's the one who told me that my presentation that he had just watched should become a book one day. And that was the sort of impetus of and start of that. I used November of 2018 to write this book. And this was my latest book, which means I had all the learnings and the mistakes behind me, and I was able to crank this one out fairly fast. My other book, Will It Fly, took 2 years to do, and I have another book called Let Go. That was a little bit easier. It's a lot shorter. It's more of just a memoir of how I became an entrepreneur. But this book right here, not Let Go, but Will It Fly, took 2 years. It took a coach that I needed to hire. It took a restart. It took a scrapping of the whole thing and coming back to it. But what drove me forward, and this is going to be the first lesson here before we get into open Q&A, which is you need to know who you're writing this book for and why this is important, right? A lot of people who want to get into book publishing do it very self-servingly, right? And I think it's important to still want to know what are the goals for you as an author. For example, to build more authority, to generate some revenue, to be a lead gen so that you could sell something else, coaching, your software, a program, whatever it might be, a membership. That's all important to think about as well. But most important is who is this for and how is it going to help them? That is always going to be the case. Serve first, of course, is my mantra. And when you have that sort of approach, then you're going to fight through all the battles. You're going to figure out how to get through all those mistakes. You're going to get the help you need to make sure that you're still able to accomplish your goal of serving your audiences. And I often say, your earnings are a byproduct of how well you serve your audience. So let's go. And I probably, with the number of people who are here, thank you for the 160 plus people who are here. By the way, if you're just chiming in, Pat Flynn, author of 3 self-published books, 1/4, or not a fourth of a book, although about a fourth of the book has been completed. My 4th book, which is a traditionally published book, is being worked on as we speak, which is really exciting, a completely different approach to it, and we can get into that as well. I will not be able to get to every single question. Hopefully the questions I do answer some of yours as well, and I'll try to burn through as many of them as I can. Thank you, Ben, who said, thanks for doing this despite being sick. Hey, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. AAP member here, Andy says, All Access Pass member here. Can't wait for this to help my current project, writing a hospitality leadership book. Thank you for that prompt, and thank you for being a member, Andy. One quick thing that reminds me of is this is not a how-to, although I will be happy to share how I do things. The step-by-step approach that I teach for writing books is actually going to be done for the All Access Pass members next week. So in case you are curious about that or what All Access Pass is, there's a workshop happening, and that is happening on the 28th. So I think that's next Thursday or Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. I'll be running a workshop just for All Access Pass members, and you can check it out if you'd like. It's a great opportunity to get access to all of our stuff and workshops, courses, community guides, etc. You can check that out there. We'll talk more about that later. But let's go here. Royston says, I'm here because I wouldn't have a business if it weren't for super fans. So again, the idea of what is ultimately this book going to do for people and how is it going to help them get results? That's really important to think about. Zolquar here says, Pat, how is an ebook different from a course? A course is generally an online platform that you log into that then teaches you step by step how to do something with lessons and modules. There's a lot of similarities. In fact, my very, very, very first online course actually came as a result of this book, Will It Fly, and people who wanted a course version of this. Now, an ebook is typically made up more of stories and case studies and things to help a person understand why that thing is important, how it's relevant to them, and also some how-tos as well. But an online course typically is about A to Z, how to get that transformation. And a book is an amazing way to drive people into a course, by the way. This book, if you haven't seen my case study yet, this is Will It Fly, by the way, with over 1,000 reviews. There is a income report on the website behind my bestseller, Will It Fly? And here we talk about a lot of the revenue that was generated as a result of this book. And no, it wasn't just revenue generated off the top of the book. It was from the course sales and how people got into the communities afterwards and such. But all about this book is here if you want to go into a deep dive of really the case study of this book. If I can scroll down here just to give you some numbers. Ebook sales, 20,000 at $6.99 each. Paperback sales, you can see 13,000 more paperback sales than ebook. Audiobook, we can talk about audiobooks as well. A lot more people purchase the audiobook now. Mind you, I do have a podcast, so that makes sense. But a lot of the revenue comes as a result of people coming into the courses, right? And those kinds of things. So more on that later, but that is there in case you want to check it out and available on our website. How do you get hardcover books when self-publishing? Is this done via Amazon, or what is the process for doing this? So, Ruswin, this has changed over time. When I wrote Will It Fly, this was written with a tool called CreateSpace, which was a separate tool where you can upload your book, you can get all the things figured out with how you want the cover to look, and you upload the artwork there. All the things are uploaded there. And then what happens is then it feeds that information to Amazon, it connects to Amazon, and then it's basically print on demand, which is a great way to start. You don't get necessarily access to the highest quality material, but that does give you access to paperback and now even hardcover books. You do pay a little bit extra to get those books created, but Amazon has since purchased CreateSpace and has brought that into Amazon Publishing. And through Amazon itself, you can take a very similar approach. You upload your book, you can have it be print on demand, and you get to choose all the trimmings for how you want that done. I'm not going to get into the specifics for that, but it's actually a lot easier now more than ever. There are a lot of people who talk about this kind of thing online and on YouTube. You could see how it's done, but it's actually a lot easier than you think. Now, with my book Superfans, I took a different approach. So to make this clear, Will It Fly was print on demand, right? You upload it, and when somebody purchases it, Amazon then prints it out and then ships it out to them. Pretty decent quality, and it's getting better over time. With my book Superfans, I used a company called New Type Publishing. Again, it's New Type Publishing, where it was sort of a hybrid, still self-published, but they happen to have had connections to Barnes & Noble and other places, excuse me, to get your book on the shelves. But honestly, that's more of an authority play than a book-selling play. To be honest, for most people, getting a book into a bookstore is not going to really change anything other than just now you can say that your book was in a bookstore. There is still some authority that comes with that, and through New Type Publishing, again, the name of that company, you can get into these places. But most of the book sales came, of course, on Amazon and on Audible with that version. But the way it works with a company like that, this is a hybrid publishing company. The benefit of that is you have a lot more control. You keep a lot more of the royalties. They just don't have as many connections or can get as many books out there into those shelves as possible, like a traditional publisher, especially if you're published with one of the big sort of like, Penguin, Random House, Simon & Schuster, those types of publication places. But because it was a company like that, I had to order books up front. So I could purchase a book that I published myself for about $4 to $5 per book, right? They make it look really nice. I mean, it just feels nice. The quality is amazing, way better than what Amazon can get you with a company like that. but you have to pay for the books up front, which was the harder thing. And I know for a beginner publisher may not be the right thing to do. And then they hold the books there. When they sell them on Amazon on your behalf, they distribute them to all the warehouses for you, so you don't have to worry about doing that yourself. But it's still something that you have to pay for up front. It's the difference between a print-on-demand T-shirt company and a T-shirt company where you buy 1,000 shirts and then you have to, hold them in your in your garage and sell them and ship them off, right? So that's just a little bit of insight on how that process works. Let's see here. Brian, what's up, Brian, our AI expert inside of Pro? How do you manage your time when you're writing? You have so much going on. You must have to put out so many things on hold. I know when I was writing Epic, it consumed several weeks. So yeah, Brian just published a book with Joe Plitzy, and it's awesome. You should check it. You should check it out. So how do I manage my time? Very important. This is a very important question, because if you can't write the book, then the book's and all this other stuff doesn't really matter. You set time aside in the calendar to do it. Time blocking is going to be very important. That combined with actually making this a priority, right? You could put it in your calendar, but you can always push it back. But when you make this a priority, something that you do want to accomplish, having even just a 30-minute to 1 hour block of time every single day to write is going to be really key. That's my style. I need to continually get into that habit of writing every day. And actually now what has helped me also is I've learned the power, and this might help a lot of you, especially those of you who are busy. I've learned the power of dictating my thoughts using a voice memo app, simply just the built-in one on Android, or on Apple, but Android has this as well, and then transcribing that. You can use a tool like Descript to literally take that audio and turn it into something that now has words. Now, you can't just say, oh, there are my words for my book, but this becomes, as my friend Jeff Goins says, it's your clay. A first draft of your book is always going to be messy, and it's going to be made up of this clay that you've gathered. All these stories, all these things that are on your mind in some random order, and hopefully you have an outline, which is going to be your first step, is to really create the outline so you know what to even dictate something about. But when you're in your car, this is how I'm doing my current book. When I'm in my car or when I'm just on the go somewhere, I'm dictating my thoughts about a particular topic within that book. So I can get a whole bunch of sand, a whole bunch of clay, and then I can mold that into something later, right? That's really key, and it's been saving me a lot of time, right? So dictating to get that clay, all the stuff out there, because in general, most of a book and what you end up seeing is a result of a chiseling process from a whole bunch of stuff that has then since been removed. Thank you, April, for that as well. I see you're super there. Thank you so much. Great questions. I'm going to speed through as many as I can. I know I need to answer quickly because I want to make sure everybody does get some love here. And again, I'm going deep into some of these because I know a lot of you have similar questions. I'm excited to know how you recommend to make money from publishing a book. I took a program, self-published, invested a ton, and it just wasn't in the right time then. I think the best money generation opportunities from a book is not thinking about the book as the money-making generation, but rather the lead gen opportunity. What does the book lead to? Where are people going to go next? How might they sign up for consultations or to work with you after reading the book? When you think about that as you are writing the book, then you can think about how to implement strategies in there, not to hard sell, but to just show people that it just would make sense for people who want to go deeper to then hire you or get into your program or join your community, whatever the case may be. That's the number one way to do it for sure. Albert says, I'm working on a book now to pro musicians, how to copyright their music, because a lot cheaper than I think. It just takes time and then accurate. Nice, Albert. Good stuff. And because you're answering a question that often a lot of your people have, it's a great opportunity for a book to come in. And then again, take them from there to the next thing. Dogs are your best friend. How do you set yourself up mentally every day to work and succeed? It's too easy to psych myself out every time. What steps do you take every morning? You just, you start, because the longer I wait before and this isn't just for writing, this is for anything, right? It's like going on a run. I could get my shoes ready, but like until I put my feet in the shoes and go out the door and just like try to get to the end of the block, then it's impossible. And this is a strategy I got from James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, which has been on the New York Times bestseller list for like 126 weeks, which is absolutely wild. I'm so proud of him. He's like a friend of mine. Not like a friend of mine. He is a friend of mine. So the strategy is like, make it a goal to get to the end of the block, right? So in the running metaphor. And when you're at the end of the block, you've already spent the time to put your shoes on. You might as well go around the whole block. And hey, you've already done that. You might as well go by, down the end of the street on the other side. And then all of a sudden you've run a mile and you've gotten what you needed to do, right? So take this larger goal and just get to like writing one paragraph, and you're going to get into that mode, and 1 will become 2, 2 will become 5, etc. All right. How do you know whether the information is better for a book versus a course? I think the same kind of information can be useful for a book or a course, but I think the book is a much better job of really setting the tone, creating the why and the what behind it, and even qualifying people to then be open to taking the course, which then has the how and the accountability and all the strategies to actually get a person a result. Oftentimes, there's going to be a lot of parallels between the book and the course, but a course should be just about the transformation and getting a person that transformation as quickly as possible. Milton says, I'm 80K words into a nonfiction manuscript. I want to get it traditionally published, but I have no idea what to do next. What should I do? Your number one goal is to be a great or to create a proposal. A proposal is what then gets shopped around, if you will, similar to like a screenplay or a little bit of a pitch, if you will, for a publishing company. So an agent is going to be your best friend. I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about agents. I have an agent, and I would not have been able to get my deal with Atria, which is a leg of Simon & Schuster. So if you didn't know, my 4th book did get a deal. I did get an advance. I'm working on it right now, and it's with one of the big publishing houses, Simon & Schuster, specifically Atria, which is their personal development arm. And this book that I'm writing is more than just about business. It's actually about personal development and learning and that kind of thing. I want to answer more questions, but I would not have been able to do that without my agent. The agent knows people. The agent has the ability to tell you what to put in the proposal, what works, what doesn't, so that they know how to best set it up for success, and they'll make those things happen. And yes, you do share a little bit of revenue from those advances or any cut with those agents, but an agent will be the best way to get it done for sure. Todd says, hey, Pat, want to write a parable-style story, Lencioni style, so Patrick Lencioni. I'm thinking just starting with 500 words a day kind of approach until I can generate a first draft idea. Is good approach? Yeah, Todd, honestly, whatever gets you excited in writing is going to be the best first approach, because you might find that maybe the book itself isn't going to be what you thought it was at the end once it's all compiled together, but you have all this, again, clay that you're now able to work with. So it might not become what you originally think, but get through it in the way that you want. That's always the first step. Just write the darn thing, get in there, get messy. Royson says, why traditional? I had 3 good experiences, but there's no fighting the fact the publisher had the last word to deterrent my book. I feel, there's a lot of pros and cons to either, but I do feel like you have more control, especially if you have an audience. In fact, the publisher, they need you more than you need them. Excuse me. I have a secret weapon here. So how do we do? 20 minutes without a coughing fit? That's pretty good. So this is not focusing, but this is called Entertainer Secret. Yum. So again, I'm just burning through as many questions as I can. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them, but I do want to go through as fast as possible. For me, the reason I'm going traditional is because I want to see what that's like. Also, it's going to be my door into a brand new space. Personal development, have not talked about any of this kind of stuff in this kind of way. It's a way for me to sort of open up the concentric circle that I am able to reach and have authority in, so that I can help serve audiences. So, and I'm just very curious, right? And because a lot of people ask me about publishing, and I do not have traditional publishing experience all the way through yet, I want to do it even just to better serve all of you the next time we chat and we are making decisions about your book. I can have a better insight from the inside to help you as well. Excuse me. Yes, I've been sick, been saving all my energy for you today. Anita, All Access Pass member here, and wondering if the link already there to register for the workshop. Yeah, if you go into, in fact, if I show you inside the student agenda area inside of All Access Pass, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a incredible program that we have to give you access to all of our courses and workshops. The next workshop is right here under the student agenda, March workshop, How to Write and Publish a Book. We have 30 of our members out of hundreds reserved, and I'm sure that'll increase, but that'll be where we go to give you the step-by-step how to get started stuff. So if you're curious about that, you can check out the All Access Pass here, smartpassiveincome.com/AAP. All right, Brandon says, looking into getting all this. Okay, cool. I'm not here to sell you. I'm just here to show you and answer questions. Let's see. Wrote one of the best books written that no one buys. Have had a great idea for book number 2. My wife says, please no. Does having 2 books on a topic make one better authority than one? Hashtag bruh. I think it was Rovio, which is a software company. It was their 21st game that put them on the map. That game was called Angry Birds. Their 21st. So it doesn't necessarily mean their first games are any better. It just means they have finally found a formula that works. And if book 1 may be the best book ever, maybe it might take book 2 to let people know that book 1 exists, right? Especially if they're sort of related in some way, right? Same thing with like publishing videos here on YouTube, right? A lot of people do videos and, sometimes 100 getting not very far, and then boom, video 101 puts them on the map, and then everybody goes back and watches the other ones, right? So it's hard to say, especially if we don't know what that topic is and who it's for and how book 1 really is and how people reply to it, how people find it, who talks about it, etc. There's a lot of factors, of course. I would definitely say, you want to make sure you have some honest conversations with your wife about what that might entail, but at the same time, maybe the trick is not necessarily just writing another book, but how might you better promote book number 1 or better approach marketing book number 2? To expand on that conversation about self-publishing has been great, especially if you have an audience, you have more control, you get to keep more of the revenue. But hopefully I've shared the answer about why I just want to check out traditional to see what happens. And for me personally, it's a goal that I just want to experience and see if I can insert myself into a new space to get on different stages, to get a different way to impact the world in a way beyond the circles that I currently have. Tina, good to see you here, Tina. Does it cost money to write your own first book and get published? In general, yes. Not maybe as much as you might think. However, there are a lot of variables there, obviously. You could hire a coach to help you like I did. There's certain software that you could use. I don't use a software to write. I don't use pen and paper, but I do use Google Docs. I just write in what I'm familiar with and then figure it out after it's written about where it goes and where to put it. There are tools like Scribe and other places that allow you to have like software versions of Post-it notes and move things around. And that's really helpful for fiction because you can keep track of characters and build personalities and characters and all that kind of stuff. But I've tried using that. It actually just got more in the way of writing versus me just writing in a Google Doc. So no, that I don't pay for any money there. There are fees for certain things. When you begin to get editors involved, you want to pay a good editor to get them to go through the book. There's various kinds of editors. There's like the punctuation, spelling editor, right? The copy editor. But then there's the story editor, making sure that things make sense, that things are in the right order, that there's no holes. The person who then converts that into an Amazon style coding to be able to put into Kindle. You're going to need to pay that person unless you want to try to figure that out on your own. So yes, it does cost some money. But I would say even before any of those questions of who do I pay and who do I hire next come into play, like just focus on the writing of the book. That's going to be the main thing. I'm about to start posting blogs, and I see them becoming the base for chapters in a book. Is this a good idea? Andy Weir, the writer of The Martian, the author of The Martian, wrote that entire book on a blog. People, in fact, became fans of that book even before it became a book and brought them on that journey. He was even he even enabled himself to build up an audience of scientists and NASA engineers based on the story he was creating. This is, again, Andy Weir from The Martian. That they even offered to help to make sure the mathematics and calculations were correct inside the book that became The Martian, that then became the movie starring, oh my gosh, James Bourne, who, like Matthew, No, not Matthew Broderick. Help me out, chat. Oh my gosh, I'm just in book mode right now, not movie mode. I'm sorry. You know who I'm talking about. What are your thoughts on self-publishing Amazon and then Audible version of the book? That's the right way to go. Amazon for sure. I know there's iBooks and all these other things, but yeah, just Matt Damon, Milton. Thank you. Oh my gosh, Matt Damon. Okay, I'm back on Earth now. That was a good reference right there. Okay, anyway, the way that I do it, the way that I've seen a lot of my friends do it as well, is they publish the paperback slash hardcover and the Kindle version. So because a person has a preference on how they prefer to consume a book, right? So ebook version, or hardcover version. And then phase 2 is the Audible version of the book, where you can then have some fun with that, right? It becomes a phase 2 promotion. People who buy the physical copy may also then want the Audible version, especially if you add some bonuses in there. You go off script like Gary Vaynerchuk and I do sometimes. That can be really neat. And that way you're also ensuring that people buy either the paperback or hardcover and or the Kindle version to give yourself the best chance of becoming bestseller without sabotaging that opportunity by also having another option to get the Audible version, if that makes sense. There you go. The Traveling Teach says, you mentioned you're currently doing traditional publishing with your fourth. Are any of your first 3 self-published? Yes, all first 3 of my books are self-published. Let Go, which was originally published on Amazon, and Will It Fly and Superfans, all self-published in different kinds of ways. Let Go was primarily just Kindle launched. Then a physical version came many years later after people asked for it. Will It Fly was print-on-demand self-published book, which was a lot of fun and interesting. And then Superfans was a self-published book, but that was done through a company called New Type Publishing, which allowed me to get a higher quality version, get them into bookstores, still keep most of the royalties, but the downside of that is you have to order a lot of books up front versus the print on demand. Again, the similarity to like printing a whole bunch of t-shirts and then storing them and then, sending them out when people order, or sending them to Amazon in bulk to then distribute, versus, print on demand, which is a lot easier to manage. Thanks for all the well wishes, everybody. I appreciate you. Shout out to Jillian here in the chat as well. Counselor Apprenticeship says, Pat, found your channel 3 days ago, and I created a podcast now. Nice. Congratulations. That's awesome. Brandon says, how do you do pre-sales? Via Instagram, Ingram Spark with hardcover and Kindle, and then you do paper on KDP when you launched? Yeah, pre-sales when I launched Will It Fly on CreateSpace was really wacko. I mean, I had to talk to customer service from Amazon, do some things that felt very hacky, and it just didn't make any sense. Now, with the traditional book that I'm publishing right now, obviously, the benefit of traditional as well is they have all the team to be able to figure all that stuff out for me. So I can just focus on the book and then marketing it to you and my audience and mentioning it on the podcast, etc. So technically how to do pre-sales today on Amazon, I am just going to be upfront and say I don't know how that works technically right now. But I guarantee you there are people on YouTube here much more experienced with me as of late who know the technicalities of how to do that. But let's talk about pre-sales just in general. I believe that marketing your book should happen even before it's finished being written. In fact, even just as it's getting started. You can get people excited about the book right now. You can get people to feel like they're involved in the process right now. You can even gauge an interest and help people determine what maybe the chapters and stories could potentially be in the book right now. All leading up to the fact that now this book is coming out, and when it will come out can be figured out later. But getting people involved now, when people are involved, they are invested. They want it to succeed because they've seen it grow. It's very similar to how Caleb and I, launched the Switch Pod. And when Will It Fly and Superfans the story of Superfans was really interesting. November 2018, every day in the month of November, which, by the way, is also known as NaNoWriMo, or National Novel Writers Month. So it's a month that people every year use as an excuse, or really just a kick in the butt, to write every day and to get something done. I didn't quite finish this book in November, but I finished it by my birthday on December 6th, in fact. But every day I talked about how many words I wrote. I had people guess how many words I was writing, and then I also shared what I was writing about. Never sold the book. I wasn't even selling it then, but I was definitely letting people know about it, helping people get excited about it. And that way, when it started to become a thing that was a reality, a book now that I was going to sell, it wasn't a surprise anymore. People knew this was coming already, right? Which is really cool. So hopefully that helps provide some insight. Chris says, 2 questions. What's one significant takeaway from your self-publishing experience, and why traditional publish this time? So I already answered that last question. Go back in time if you need to, Chris. But self-publishing, the one thing I learned is asking yourself, well, what happens after a person reads the book? Where do you want them to go next? On that report, on the website, which this is the All Access Pass, on that report, you'll see that this book has not just provided some good revenue, but this right here, more than half the people who read my book gave me their email address. So again, thinking ahead on what a reader is going to do. Inside this book, there are promotions throughout for a free companion course. And you can do this with a traditionally published book too, but again, with a self-published book, you're able to do like whatever you want, basically. So in this book, there are mentions of a companion course throughout that is really helpful to get, that helps you read along, or you can read along or sort of take the course alongside while you read. Amazon does not give you, nobody gives you the emails of your readers. You have to collect those yourself. So if you have Will It Fly or even Superfans, I made sure to do this in Superfans because it works so well with Will It Fly. Now you know these emails that you can come in through a forum and they're tagged in ConvertKit, for example. So you know these are readers of Will It Fly. You know exactly where they're at. You know exactly where to take them and how to help them from there. And that alone is an amazing reason to write a book. So you can grab those leads of people who know where they are. They've gotten value from you already. Many of those people have converted into our course, Smart from Scratch, and then now have become All Access Pass members as well, right? So really, really big. With audiobooks, says Judy, did you do the audio yourself or hire a voice actor? You know, I'm going to put my foot down, even though this is my fist, and say you should record it yourself. And now I know that might not seem possible for some people, or perhaps you just, you don't want to do that, and that's fine. You can hire a voice actor to do that. But there is just something amazing that happens when you're literally listening to the person who wrote the book. There's just a different energy there, right? And when you are reading the book yourself, you can even add some sort of side notes and some fun in there, some additional stories or bonuses, which then add more value to the audiobook from there. There's just something very fun about that. And from a listener's perspective and an energy perspective, do it yourself if you can. All right. Any thoughts on hiring an editor to help with the process of off Upwork? Yeah, Upwork could be a great place to find editors. There's a lot of book writing communities. That would be a great place to source a lot of people to help you as well. But Upwork is great. Look at the portfolios of those people and read their reviews first. Lana says, what actions, tactics ended up giving you the most results when ramping up a book launch? Being a guest on other people's podcasts. By far, the number one thing you can do, and here's why. Number one, you are now in front of an audience that you've probably not been in front of before. Or maybe you have in the past if you were a guest. But in general, these are people who are not in your circles, right? A lot of people are like, social media, I'm going to blast it out there. But you're saying the same thing to people who already follow you. You need to find new people who have yet to hear this message of yours and hear about this book. Number two, you're getting endorsed by the host that has already spent all that time to build that trust with that audience member. So that endorsement, your voice in front of a new audience, boom, big win. And you can just like air horn it all day, because that's like, if that is your one and only strategy, that will work better than any fine-tuned social media marketing plan, unless you are a pro. That's my fist down, my foot down. Ben says, what's your writing process? I feel like I have a lot to say, but the idea of drawing that out and organizing it feels overwhelming. So I'm going to give you the high-level overview. Goal number one, get an outline done. Figure out that, like, when that's like checkpoint number one in Mario Kart. Get there first, right? Because when you do that, the book writing process is then based off of that outline. Each of those chapters inside of each of those steps or modules or et cetera, parts become essentially focus items, blog posts that you just focus on at certain periods of time, and then you get that done, and you start to check things off the list, and it just starts to grow from there, which is really amazing. So how do you get the outline? Post-it notes. I am always within arm's reach, foot's reach, fist's reach of Post-it notes. And I have a video called How to Plan Anything here on YouTube, which I recommend watching. It's like 5 minutes. It involves a brainstorming process that is in 3 parts. If you are in some of our courses, you know this. The dump, lump, and jump strategy. Number 1, go to the bathroom. No, I'm just kidding. Number 1, you brain dump all... Sorry. Trying to keep it light here while I try to not cough. Number 1, you dump all the things. This is like a mind map, exactly. You dump all the things that are in your mind to help a person go from where they're at to the transformation you want, or the end result of the book. So that's step 1. You need to know what the end result is that you want. And when you brainstorm, part 1, dump, you dump all the things out. You one idea per Post-it note, just have a sea of Post-it notes. Step number 2, you then lump things together. You create groupings. You create similar things. Have here's all the parts where these are like mindset things. Boom, those all go together. Here are all the tools. Okay, I'll put all those together. You find those commonalities, and then you order them. That's the jump part. Dump, lump, jump. Dump, lump, jump. And the jump part is, okay, well, hey, I should do the mindset stuff first, so I'm going to move that to the beginning. Oh, the software, they don't even need that till the end, so I'm going to move that to the end. And then within each of those groupings, you can then order what comes first, what comes next. On Target is on target and says, I've used this strategy. It works amazingly. Yes, it really does. Let's see. I'm skipping questions that I've already answered in some way. Do you do it daily rather than just setting aside 2 weeks in Hawaii to write the book and bang it out? I do it daily. My friend, Shannon Irvine, is writing a book right now. She, Epic Success is her podcast. She is a person who likes to just do it in chunks. She booked a hotel in San Diego to get away from her home and just banged it out in like a week. And that's a very common strategy as well. So I think it's going to take some time, especially if you're a beginner writer, to sort of figure out, well, how do you write best? And what environment do you need? What items might you need around you, or strategies might you need to include to then push you to make that happen? For me, I'm a streaky guy. I streak. No, this is a dirty video. I don't know why. I love streaks where I can see I got like that checklist and I'm doing it daily, right? Doc, I am jealous. I'll be there one day with you. So again, you just need to put yourself in the right position and find out what kind of person you are for that. Judy said, I just did KDP, so that's Kindle Direct Publishing, as a print-on-demand hardcover and paperback, not at all that hard. I was going to make a joke about hard and then paperback, but no, I don't want to distract from how awesome that is. So it is getting even easier now, which is great. So Judy, thank you for that. Kano says, how do you deal with writer's block? Ooh, amazing question. One of the most common questions I get. You need to find inspiration, right? ChatGPT, I got to say, is a great place to start for a lot of inspiration. Never have just ChatGPT write your book for you. Never just copy and paste and say, that's my book. But if you need a voice to talk to bounce ideas off of, ChatGPT is actually an amazing tool to get started, right? You can prompt it with what you're trying to accomplish in a way that's not even grammatically correct, and it will help you figure things out. So use it wisely. With great power comes great responsibility, right? Bouncing ideas off of other people is a great way to inspire me to figure out things to write. And focusing on just one part that I'm inspired to write is much better than focusing on the whole and being like, I don't even know where to begin from here. This is why writing a book in actually not the order of the book that it's going to be read is actually a really good strategy. When I wrote Will It Fly, I think I wrote like, I remember writing like chapter 5 first, I think, and then part 3 next, because that's what I was just most interested in at the time. And then going back, and then the intro actually came later, right? So we can go with where the energy is, right? I think that's really important. And then what also is very important is realizing that your first draft is gonna suck. Like, it's going to be bad. It has to be bad If your first draft is good, that means you've spent too much time editing. Your editing part of your brain is different than your creative sort of storytelling part of your brain. And if you try to do both at the same time, which is why some writers even literally remove their delete key from their keyboard so that they are forced not to edit, so they could stay in creative mode all the time, is a really cool thing. I don't do that, but I just know, and I let my mistakes there. If I'm not happy with something, I keep writing anyway, and I just keep going, because you might not, you might have to get through 2 paragraphs of crap to get to like a good thought that just like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay. And then when you're in editing mode later or working with an editor, you can just even forget about those first 2 paragraphs. But that third paragraph wouldn't have happened if you hadn't gotten to this first 2, right? So that's just, again, how I would recommend. Casa says, I wrote chapters out of order. That was so helpful for me as well. Broderick says, okay, I needed to hear that. You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's see. Have you found... Oh, wait. I'll get there. What would you recommend for turning an existing course into a book? With the idea that you want the book to sell the course, right? So I would create an outline first. We've talked about outlines a lot already. Create an outline using the course as sort of the inspiration and basis, and likely part 3 of the book, right? Part 1 is going to be for especially like business related books that you know are going to sell into something. Before you even get to like the part that offers the solution, you want to talk about the problem and hone in on the problem and talk about how you and other people are like, you know, you're all not alone in this, and stories of success through that, and maybe a lot of the mindset stuff that needs to happen first before then the how-to, which is the course part, comes. But of course, a book can only do so much. It's not video, it's not worksheets, it's not other things. Although, yes, in a book you can have exercises and such, which is a smart way to help people get small results as they are going through. You just need to get messy. You just need to get messy, Jitterhead and Jitter Ted, and get in there and start like get to outline phase. Again, using the course as a part of it, and just kind of take the approach as somebody who's getting into the subject for the first time. What might they need to get inspired to then even be open to getting your course later? All right, cool. Are we all getting value? We're about half. Wow, we're 40 minutes into this already. Are you kidding me? That is wild. That's crazy. I could probably stay till 10 after, by the way, so I'll stay a little bit longer for you. But I just wanted to like check in with you, make sure we're good. Mark says, when does your book writing class begin? It actually begins on Tuesday, March 8th at 11 a.m. inside of the All Access Pass. So if you get into the All Access Pass, you'll see some stuff and go. You'll get onboarded, and then you hit your student agenda. You can RSVP to that class, which will be more specific. Like, hey guys, here's how to lay it down. Here's how, like, where to put your time in, etc. This is more of a general overview of this kind of stuff. And again, you can get access to that here, and that'll forever live there. So if you get access to it later, you can check it out. But this way, we can have even more time together live as I help you through the sort of sequence of events that should happen for you to get from where you're at to a published book. Okay, so let's get back to some questions. Snowlinks, which sounds like a Pokemon. Have you found yourself using ChatGPT to help you formulate some ideas? Yes, just talked about that. In fact, and again, using it for the idea that, okay, I'll never have to start from blank anymore, right? I use it as inspiration to run ideas, to essentially be like another voice in the room about the things I'm thinking about, if that makes sense. Thank you, Jillian. What would be the best platform software for actually writing the manuscript? The one that you're already used to writing in. That's what I learned writing Will It Fly, because I tried to use Scrivener. That was the one. I tried to use Scrivener and then like look for the magic tool that would help me organize things, and there wasn't one. You may be a person who might enjoy using those kinds of things. You get amped up by that kind of level of organization before writing. I just needed an outline and then to write in Google Docs. It was actually my coach who asked me, what do I normally write my blog post in? Because I told him I was upset. I was like, Azul, I can write a blog post, 5,000 words in a couple hours. Easy. Like, it just comes out. It just comes out of me. Dump, lump, and jump. Sorry. Had to. But writing a book just is so hard. It feels so much heavier. I don't know how to write this thing. He's like, well, okay, where do you normally write your blog posts? And I was like, Google Docs. He's like, where are you trying to write your book now? I'm like, Scrivener. He's like, why? Why aren't you using what you're used to writing already? So there's that. Good question from Niv here that just asked. I just want to address it really quick. Did you learn any skills in writing before writing a book? If yes, what did you learn? I learned how to convey ideas with the written word, and like those of you who are really good on social media, you have a leg up. I had some blogging experience, but storytelling is going to be the key, right? Excuse me. I'm not freshening my breath. This is a magic elixir for doing voice things when you shouldn't be doing voice things. Let's see here. Ben says, what's your writing process? We talked about that. Nice question. Book versus course. Cool. We addressed that. Thank you, Kano, for being here for 27 months. Thank you so much for all the tips, says Sonia. I've felt compelled and encouraged to pursue my goals and dreams by listening to many of your videos. Hey, thank you, Sonia. Appreciate you. Yes, take a daily walk to think. I love that you're all providing value to each other. That is great. How many words pages for a cooking ebook? A cooking ebook. I don't know the number of words off the top of my head, but I would say, what is your number one goal with the book? How do you want a person to experience this book? I can imagine a cookbook ebook with just a couple thousand words, but it's like exactly what I need to experience what I need to experience. In fact, it might be worth doing some research on what existing books are out there, which ones are best selling and why, and what people are saying. Because I know in my experience, reading a recipe, I don't care about all that stuff about grandma. No offense. Tell me how to make the most delicious meal for my family ever, right? And maybe you take a different approach. Maybe you're going to tell the most beautiful, intricate. Maybe you use poetry to support the cooking that you're doing. Okay, well then that's different. So it's going to be based on the approach and how you want it to take. Doc says, I need link to Magic Elixir, please. Entertainer's Secret. That's what it's called. Throat relief. So book sales aren't that important compared to the authority that may come with having written a book and the result that you may have in your field. I mean, book sales are a metric. It provides optics for how well people are receiving this message and how well you're marketing it, all that kind of stuff. The more book sales you have, definitely the more authority you have. However, even if you had zero sales, having a book says something about you. If there are two options that your customer has and everything else is the same, but one person has a book under their belt and the other person does not, you know which person they're going to go with, the person with the book, right? So I think it's really important to consider that. But at the same time, yes, the more the message resonates, the more you will be invited to talks, the more you can use that as an opening opportunity to get in the door for certain things, the more that a person might want to feel more inclined to invite you on the podcast or accept your request to be on their show, right? The more that will happen, the more sales your book has. And Will It Fly has opened up so many doors, 1,368. I mean, these numbers matter. These reviews matter. Amazon, 600, that is a very ominous number there. Anybody want to leave a review so we're not at 666? I'm not superstitious, but I also am. They can open up doors for sure. But of course, when you sell books, you do make revenue, and there are ways to generate revenue beyond the book that we have already talked about. Anita, where can we find an agent for our books? This is a great question. I reached out to a friend who had already published a book, and I asked him, who is your agent? And even though that's not the agent I went with, that did give me a foot in the door, and that agent actually recommended me to another agent. So go with somebody that you might know who has published a traditional book. And if, there's a lot of companies out there who do on their website, you could probably do some Google searches for different agents as well. Make sure you are comfortable with the kind of people and the kind of books they publish and represent. That way you can perhaps not just use that to be like, oh, I like them, I'm going to try to reach out to them and get to know them, but rather they might resonate with you because you have a book that perfectly fits into their portfolio, if that makes a little sense. Oh, Royson, I appreciate you for that. I feel like I've started a book many times, but got off track with the focus of it. How do you keep the focal point of the book's center while talking about many things around it? I can't stress this enough, Ben. The outline. The outline is your guide. Don't even start writing the book until the outline is finished, because the outline is the way. This is the way. Mandalorian. This is the way. This is the way. That's how you stay focused, because then you don't veer off plan from there. You already have kind of the roadmap in mind, and that keeps you in your lane, if you will. Costa says, published my first book in 2021. I hit #1 in several categories. I always intended to write a second book. Now I have things I want to revise book #1 or work and release the next book. That's going to be up to you. My good friend Sean Cannell, who wrote YouTube Secrets, he wrote his book about YouTube. It became #1, and he wrote a revised version, which kept it at #1, and also, because of the subject matter, kept it relevant for his audience. So for that reason, it was important to update the first edition, because YouTube's always changing, right? So that's something to keep in mind. If you feel like it would be faster to turn around a first edition into a second one, then it might be wise to do that. I would have some. I would think a little bit more deeply about the purpose and goal of each of those opportunities for you, and which one might make sense for you. Just wanted to mention, it's because of you. We started the Seed Group podcast to help other musicians. Since we turned it into a variety show, it's sorry about that. It's sorry about that? I hope it's going well. I'm sorry about that if it's not going well. But anyway, I'm glad you started something. Sending you so healthy vibes. Thank you. For nonfiction business book, is there a book size format and min-max number of words you recommend? I noticed in airports, books stand much smaller size books. Here's the real answer. The book should include as many words as required to help a person with whatever it is you're trying to help them with. Seth Godin's books, like Tribes, so short, probably like 15 to 20,000 words, where, a Malcolm Gladwell book might be 70 to 80,000 words, maybe even over 100. Then there's John Lee Dumas's book, The Mastery Journal, which has 0 words because it's just a bunch of blanks, John. I always tease him about that. I'm like, dude, you're a best-selling author, and there are no words in your book. I mean, there's some words like instructions, but it's mostly blanks. I pull his leg for that all the time. But it, again, does the job. It does what it promises, right? So that's really important. So there is no perfect size. I think Rework is another book by the guys who founded Basecamp. Very short, punchy book. Some go a little bit deeper into story. And Broderick, Purple Cow, great message. Hopefully that makes sense. Sonia says, you have worked with so many means, podcast, YouTube channel, books, and you work mostly with nonfiction. How can you apply for your tips for fiction and use all means to make it a business? I mean, now more than ever, podcasts are getting into fiction. You can use, I love the idea of what like The Last of Us is doing. Anybody watch The Last of Us with Pablo Pascal or Pedro Pascal, Daddy Pedro? The show's great. It's based on a video game, but they have a podcast, and you can kind of get into the how and the behind the scenes and all this stuff. Like, that would be an amazing experience for a reader of a fiction book to listen to the author think about their thoughts and get finally the answers we've all been looking for. Is that the symbolism you actually meant? That was a question I always asked in school. Did the author really mean it like that, teacher, or are you just making that up? Right? So a podcast can support in that way behind the scenes. A blog could provide some additional thoughts, theories. There's whole Reddits about different books that are people adding additional text and context to people's readings of it, right? So I think they can definitely be used. What I would do is find a fellow fiction author who is using all those things and get inspiration on how they're using those platforms for that. Excuse me. Name versus brand versus pseudonym. I'm seeing a few questions about that. If you're doing it as a personal brand, obviously you'd want to use your name. I think it's important to connect with the author who's behind the book. If a book is by like imagine if HubSpot wrote a book, it's like such and such by HubSpot, by the employees of HubSpot. It's like I like it still may be helpful, and it's dependent on the positioning of it. But like, am I going to connect with the person on the other end of the book, or is this just like a magazine, right? So something to consider. I definitely think if you do have a brand, you should definitely insert it into your book and promote it and talk about it and genuinely tell stories around it, to encourage people to want to continue to move forward with you and work with you from there. Excuse me. Oh, you're welcome. Can you recommend an editor? There are communities and pools of people who are editors, and I mean, I would again, I don't, the person I use to edit both Superfans and Will It Fly no longer does it, unfortunately. But you can ask your author friends, and there are communities out there of people who they look for jobs. There's like job postings, job boards of things like that. Excuse me. Independent publishing is the best choice. Even if you do sign with a traditional publisher, you still have to do your own marketing promotion. Yeah, that is very true. Uh, like I said, in many cases, they need you more than you need them. But I think a lot of traditional publishers are finally opening up a little bit for what they can offer that maybe they can't get in self-publishing. Not just advance either. I'm talking resources, connections, PR. Those kinds of things are things that are very difficult to come by when you're self-publishing, and are a lot easier to come by when you're traditionally publishing. But I would still say, I mean, I haven't traditionally published my fourth book yet, although I am in the process. I already know that self-publishing is probably the smarter decision. But again, I'm doing this as an experiment, as an experience, and so that I can better share insight from the inside for all of you. Brad Smith draws. I'm a kids book illustrator and want to get into writing as well. Any thoughts about making a kids book? Oh gosh. Todd Herman wrote a kids book, I think. Todd Henry. No, Todd Henry? No, Herman. Jeez, sorry. Names. I even forgot Matt Damon's name earlier, so don't at me. Children's books are incredible. There are people who specialize in helping people with traditional books. In fact, I know that's a completely different subject and topic and process. The illustrations are obviously very important with that, but it's something that I've thought about in the future. I think it would be a fun experiment and a great way to teach people at a young age lessons and morals and such. But I don't have any resources off the top of my head to help you with that right now. But it's definitely, people are doing it. People are doing really well with it. Excuse me. I have self-published a nonfiction book on Amazon, but it didn't have an audience and didn't do any marketing. It has 2 reviews. What can I do to sell more copies? So I would say get to become a guest on another podcast or other podcasts. Again, I mentioned this earlier for for just in general for marketing. Get in front of audiences that would benefit from this book. Be a guest on another podcast. Serve that audience, and that audience will serve you. If it's possible, you could even create your own momentum with that through your own publications. TikTok is an amazing opportunity for people selling things like books. There is a woman that keeps coming across my TikTok feed where she talked about how she was married for a number of years and divorced, or her husband had cheated on her. And she tells that story in a book, but uses TikTok to sort of seed that idea and gets like some really good video in there to connect with the viewer to then be interested in, well, tell me the full story. How did this happen, right? Because you often see or hear about the before, you see the after, the fact that she's killing it, she's doing well, she's written a book about this. And to get the full story, you got to go get the book, right? So, excuse me. That is a marketing mechanism that maybe might be less heavy than, yes, it does involve video, but you can create a 1-minute story to promote your book and help people, right? Storyteller Academy says the traveling teach. Thank you. I'm starting from zero. No social press, No email list. Should I start there first or continue the brainstorming of my book? I would say continue the brainstorming of your book whilst starting to create an audience around it. This would be the number one thing, whether it is TikTok, Instagram, or a podcast or a YouTube channel. Start talking about the topics that are going to be within this book. Start building a name for yourself on these places, because even just a small army of 100 people who are loyal followers of yours, who love this topic, who want to get behind you on it, who now know you're writing a book, and who probably feel like they have some influence on what this book eventually becomes. This becomes a this becomes a marketing mechanism for you, and a way for you to almost build an audience while you're building the thing, right? Let's see. Hey, thank you so much, Mikhail. I appreciate you. Milton asked a question really quick here, more on the tail end here, because I know I'm trying to get through as many questions as I can. We have like 400 comments here. You mentioned getting on podcasts to promote my book to new people. How do I get on podcasts? Well, if you are in the All Access Pass, which, by the way, is available here, not only do you get access to the book writing workshop that I'm running on Tuesday at 11 a.m. next week, which is available for RSVP right now if you're an All Access Pass member, but you have access to all of our courses. This is the genius behind what we've done, and I can't take credit for it because the community team on SPI figured this out. They said, you know what? Instead of selling these courses one-off that we have, why don't we put them all into one program? We guide people through these courses, and we offer workshops to supplement a lot of that, which is the book writing workshop that we're hosting on Tuesday that I'm leading. To the question of podcasting, we have 2 podcasting courses. One of them is Amped Up Podcasting, which has specific strategies specifically about getting to be a guest on another podcast. And this is the power of All Access. It's like, hey, okay, what do you need right now? Go and get it, right? So to give you a general overview of that, you need to start with podcasters you know. Number one, it's always easiest. Start with people who then know other podcasts, so a recommendation from a friend to get on. Understanding the value that you have to offer through your book and your knowledge and your expertise and how that might benefit an audience is going to be the key, right? You don't approach somebody and go, hey, can I be on your podcast? That's a self-centered way of asking. You want to say, this is how I can help your audience. They have this goal. I have this information. I want to show up and serve them. That then in turn serves you, right? Cool. Food Photography Club. Question. I'm editing my first draft done. Congratulations. It's a huge step. I'll be making a podcast and YouTube channel around this book as well, just like I talked about. Any advice on how to make these all cohesive? Branding, really important. Same branding name, same branding imagery, same language you're talking about. You can mention your book even as you're teaching certain things. You don't even have to sell it, right? You need to do a little bit of research on what the problems and pains your target audience is going through. Like in my book, Will It Fly? In part 2, when you start doing research and developing your idea, it all starts with understanding what the pains and problems are of your target audience. Do you see how I just plugged Will It Fly in an explanation to answer another topic? That's what I'm talking about there, right? In this video right now, I just talked about Will It Fly and how helpful it is without talking about Will It Fly. So I was just using that as an example on the fly there with you. Ba-dum cha. Ba-dum cha. Do I have that? I do have that. Hold up. There we go. First time using that one. Probably the last. Nathaniel says, is there an audience size or a level of establishment in your business you'd recommend before considering adding a book into the mix? I think the questions that were just answered about the fact that you can still start from scratch means no, you don't need an audience size. You can build it as you go. Now, what I don't want you to do is write the whole book without having yet even testing some of these things with an audience that you're trying to build and having conversations. And even just like 2 people that you have conversations with in real time about the things that you're talking about can give you so much insight into not just content that you can create to build an audience around that thing, but what ends up becoming a part of the book, right? So that's just a little thought there. We're going to go for 5 more minutes today. This, I think, just means 2 things. Number one, we need to do this again because there are a lot more people. Honestly, the team and I, Jillian and I, thought we're like, there's so many more people signed up for this thing than we thought there were going to be. So it's one of those things that we didn't know you needed this information as much as you might. And then number 2, with the All Access Pass workshop happening for how to write a book, like the step-by-step process. This is more of an all access type of thing versus today, which was more of an ask me anything. You can check it out there. It's happening on Tuesday. Hope you'll get in, and hopefully you'll love all else that you have to get access to there, from the community to the entire course library to our amazing guides and coaches there to help you. And literally at like 10% the price of what it would cost to get into an individual course. It's great. Let's see. The Abundant Good Life says, congratulations on having one of your books be a Wall Street Journal bestseller. It was this one. Will it fly? Also, I never thought a self-published book could be a Wall Street Journal bestseller. Me neither. Me neither. I did not know that was a thing, but it doesn't matter anymore. And this was back in 2016. I was so happy that happened, and it just, it was number 6 on the how to Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And it's just like, and it was self-published. They spelled my name with 2 T's, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. How was your experience with Writing Coach? Sylvester, amazing. Shout out to Azul at authorswholead.com. If you need a person to get some help from, definitely, like, if you want to go deep and you need somebody to like hold your hand through this process, Azul over at Authors Who Lead, he and his partner Steve are just incredible. They have an incredible community, and they are always showing off the books that they've written for, not written for, but they've helped other people write. So if you consider yourself a leader in some way, shape, or form, authorswholead.com. Patty Flynn, Patty Mayonnaise. I used to be called Patty Mayonnaise in school. Anyway, Doug was one of my favorite cartoons. It was hard. The experience was hard. I'm answering this question right here because he had to push me. I was just like, Azul, tell me what to do. And he was like, no. And like any good coach, he asked me questions. And I did not like that because I was like, just tell me what to do. But he helped me go deep into the bowels of my brain to find stories and connections with the things that I wanted to teach in ways that I never thought possible. So a good coach can do that for you. They see things. They might not know the answer, but they know the mechanisms to get there, and they'll challenge you to get there. And it's one of the things I learned about being coached is that you have to be open to the process. If you're not open to the process, similar like therapy, right? If you're not open, then no matter what a person might say to you, it could be the most helpful thing in the world. It's not going to make any sense, right? Is YouTube from scratch in the All Access Pass yet? Yes, Eric, it is. In fact, as we speak, there's an accelerator going through that right now. An accelerator, for those of you who don't know, is a group of people who've signed up to all go through a course inside of All Access Pass together. We have an online course accelerator coming at the end of April. So if you want to get ahead of all that and get access to the workshop and all the fun things we have to offer there, eOrtho, I'm proud of you for that. smartpassiveincome.com/AAP. Last question here from Judy. I know I didn't get to many of the questions, but like I said, I hope a lot of this has been helpful and perhaps has still been able to answer your questions for you. From Judy. Glad to hear you. My next book is a series of small books on my topics: leadership, media, and speaking. What do you think about the same look size for branding with different content for branding? I like it. There is a friend of mine, actually, I'm going to go here real quick. Todd Tressiter. Great example of this. So look at these books. All look very similar. These are all Todd Tressiter books. Same kind of, you got the symbol with the bold text. These are all parts of his financial coaching business. There is the annuity stuff. There's a leverage equation. There's the 4% rule. Let's see if I can go to his author page here. If you want to see a person who knows what they're doing, because what happens when you have a series of books like this is, see, even here, it says book 5 of 6. This is incredible. You can get the series all together. It's incredible. And it also tells you like which one to do first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is driving sales to his coaching and courses, everybody. This is an incredible strategy. And hopefully this gives you some inspiration, Judy, for yourself. So again, Todd Tressiter, Financial Freedom for Smart People, and you can kind of see how he does it, and you can even pick up one of his books to see maybe how one leads into the other. But the cool thing is some people might need help on like this question here, which is, one of the most common questions in finance, which is how much money do I need to retire? Many people get this book first. It's 5 in his process because he teaches like a 6-step process. But this one is one of his best sellers because it answers a very, very important question. And look at that, 768 ratings. People find this book first often and then go, oh my gosh, I need to go to number 1. And then I need to go to number 2. And then I need to go to number 3. What's up, Beyond the Rut? Good to see you here. Whew. All right. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you being open to me, just flooding you with knowledge. If you would like to check out our workshop happening inside of the All Access Pass next week, that's on Tuesday, plus all the other future workshops. We have workshops about AI coming, building sales funnels coming. All that stuff is available to All Access Pass members, as well as our accelerators and all of our courses and the community. All the good things are right there. Thank you so much for Jillian for being here and everybody for your time and attention. And I appreciate you so much. We'll have to do this again. We'll have more sort of income stream like live streams to help you on certain topics like this as we go. And I look forward to serving you then. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much. All the best.